Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. This is my first time doing this type of video for YouTube. I've done forecast on Facebook before, but usually it's a little different. I'll have an iPad kind of taking a look at computer graphics that way. This time I'm using OBS, so I'm still getting the hang of it. So bear with me as we learn a little bit more about this process. Things will hopefully look better as I get more used to it and get a little better at doing it. But I just wanted to talk about the forecast because I know that there is a lot of information out there about the big nor'easter that is going to be moving up the coast. And boy, is this going to be a blizzard for some folks. We're talking some really major impacts for coastal New England, especially. So I wanted to get into it, kind of talk about this winter weather because this is probably going to be a pretty major storm for some folks. Let's go ahead and get into it with those warnings and what we're looking at. So here we go. In purple there, that is a winter storm advisory. And this stretches from Kentucky even into a little portion there of the plateau here in Tennessee, all the way over to the Carolinas. Winter storm warning there along the Appalachians. And then you see in pink, that's the winter storm warnings that extend all the way up the coast from the Delmarva area up into New England. And then you see here in this orange color, that's a blizzard warning. And that stretches quite a bit across the Northeast. And that is a big deal. So folks in coastal Massachusetts and Maine, you are going to be feeling these big impacts, the Cape Cod areas, the coastal areas that are really going to be impacted. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about what we're going to see because this is a really interesting system that has taken shape, and we're going to be watching it tonight, really taking shape, and then moving through tomorrow. So let's get into the forecast. So this is what our radar is likely going to look like. And these times right here are in Central. I'm in Nashville, so that's why I've got it on Central Time. Easier for me to keep up with things. But of course, this is going to be impacting people on the Eastern seaboard. So you'll be in Eastern time. Either way, it's an hour difference. I expect you guys to be able to do that math. But what we're looking at is a low forming off the coast. And this is happening right now as we speak. And as it gets off the coast of North Carolina, you'll really start to see it strengthen. Now, here in Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky and Kentucky in general, I know I've got some folks watching from those areas. So after all, it's where I live. But we'll see some snow showers, maybe a little bit of accumulation in some of those higher elevations there in Tennessee, Kentucky. Now, other areas like the Appalachians, looking at 1 to 3 inches, possibly could see some more if things really get going. But most of the action is going to head a little further north as that low starts to strengthen. So you'll really start to see things coming together. Areas in West Virginia, all the way up into Jersey and to New York, you'll really start to see things forming. And then what you're going to see is a really rapidly intensifying system overnight into tomorrow. So this is around 1 a.m. and you can see this storm really taking shape and dumping that really heavy snow along the coast. And you're going to hear the word rapid intensification, or you're going to hear something called Bombogenesis, which is used to describe a mid-latitude cyclone like this, a nor'easter, that intensifies at least 24 millibars in 24 hours. So when you look at millibars for a storm or just how intense it is, the lower the number, the more intense the storm. And we look at that for a lot of different types of storms, including hurricanes. What you need to know is that this one is going to become pretty powerful. The energy is there, the moisture is there, all those ingredients you need for just a really incredible winter storm. And some folks are going to see snow totals in the feet. Now, we'll look a little bit closer at those snowfall totals in just a bit. I do want to show you what's going on with NAM. And this is a good model to look at kind of in the 24 to 48 hours before the event, or, while it's happening. It kind of gives you a good idea of what's going to be going on as we head into the next few hours. I think the range for this is pretty appropriate to show. However, there are a lot of different models, and there is still quite a bit of range when it comes to snowfall totals, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But I just want to give you the play-by-play. So this is early in the morning, and notice that really heavy snow continuing there and really walloping areas in the New England coastline. So Massachusetts into coastal Maine, you folks are really going to be seeing a lot. And then notice behind this is by Saturday afternoon, it's starting to move out, and then it's Canada's problem. We'll head into maritime Canada on Sunday. Now, also, the other thing you need to watch for this is not just going to be something that you deal with really, heavy snowfall totals. Let's take a look at wind gusts. So these are in miles per hour. And this is one of the reasons why we have that blizzard warning in those areas. So you see that storm intensifying. This is this afternoon into the overnight. Notice wind gusts. So Delmarva area, looking at winds gusting into the 40s. That's a lot, especially when you have snow. You're going to see blowing snow. But then as it rides up along the coast, we're looking at some really high wind gusts into the 60s, possibly beyond. That is going to be near hurricane strength wind, probably getting to that point at some point. And this is where you'll start to hear people say snow-a-cane or that sort of thing. Well, I don't like that word because, this is a really powerful storm and it has a name. It's called a nor'easter. And yeah, you get blizzard conditions. You get really gusty winds. You can get the coastal flooding as those waves crash on shore. But this is its own type of storm. So yes, this is a really powerful, spinny looking storm, especially when you look at it on satellite and radar. But it's a nor'easter. And the coastline and areas in the Northeast have dealt with this many times. That's why it's called a nor'easter. But this is going to be a particularly powerful one. So for folks that live in those areas, coastal New England, hopefully you've prepared. Hopefully you've watched the Weather Service's forecast. Hopefully you've watched your local news people, your local meteorologists. They usually have a pretty good handle at this time of what it's going to do because we're getting really close now to the timeline for the storm impacts. So let's take a look at snowfall totals. And some of our models are going to be showing a lot more snow than others. So we're going to show you NAM snowfall totals. So let's kind of walk through and let's see. There we go. Got this where I want it. So it really depends on where you're at. Here in Middle Tennessee, you might get a coating, a little bit on the ground, maybe some of the higher elevations on the plateau, maybe up to an inch. Now, we could see a little bit more along the Appalachians, and I know portions of North Carolina up into Virginia looking more at the 1 to 3 inch category there. Maybe possibly a little bit more in some spots, especially where you have those higher elevations. A lot of times you'll see snowfall really overperforming in those areas. That's definitely a possibility. So I always suggest look at your local weather service office, look at your local meteorologist, because they usually have a much better grip on kind of those individual sort of surface factors that can impact your forecast. They usually have a better handle on it. So I'm just looking at the big picture here for this incredible nor'easter. And NAM is throwing out some pretty big snowfall totals. So let's take a look. This is through Saturday night into Sunday. And look at this. Areas of Maine, coastal Maine, looking at almost 2 feet of snow. And into areas like Connecticut, down into, all these spots there, you're looking at a lot. So, basically Eastern Long Island, Southeast Maine, these folks, you're looking at 6 to 12 inches possibly from Maryland up into Maine, and then 1 to 2 feet for coastal New England. That is a ton of snow in these areas. So if you're under that blizzard warning, you need to be taking it seriously. I will say one thing, NAM is a little bit more aggressive than other models. And what I like to look at is just kind of a range of things. So here's our Euro model, and you hear this thrown out a lot as being a great model, and it can be. We like our NAM. We like all GFS, all of these. They all really come in handy. But here is the Euro snowfall totals, and these are actually pretty impressive as well. But remember, this is a global model, so the resolution's a little different, but it's also showing feet of snow in coastal New England. So let's bring it back a little bit to reality and what we're likely to see. What I like to look at is the National Weather Service's forecast, because they take a look at all the same things we do as meteorologists. But, the National Weather Service is pretty consistent. So let's take a look at this. And they are usually more conservative with those snowfall totals. So to the northeast there, let's see, this is 6 o'clock on Sunday. And yeah, you're looking at a foot or more of snow there. And, coastal Maine all the way into coastal New England. You're talking about, eastern Massachusetts seeing over a foot. I mean, Boston, that's a big city under a blizzard warning, folks. So folks in Boston definitely need to bundle up, even down into Philly, even possibly into portions of Maryland, Baltimore. There's a lot of the big cities that are in the way of this storm. Also, Portland, Maine, you're really going to be seeing a lot of snow. And even back in behind here, you're still picking up a bit there. And, pretty far inland, you're going to see some pretty big impacts. So, even if you're not under a blizzard warning, if you're close to it, if you're a county or two over, you're probably still going to see some really impressive blowing snow. So that's what we're looking at right now. This is a really high impact storm that's going to be riding up the coast and really causing just a lot. I'm going to leave you right now with a look again at our North American model, our NAM model, that I like to show you guys because this gives you a good idea kind of what we're going to be looking at. And here is what the radar will likely be looking at. So just kind of to talk about timing again. So you really see that storm taking shape off the coast as we head into the afternoon. So this is 3 o'clock Central, 4 p.m. Eastern time. And you can see some snow showers breaking out and behind. Remember, we got some really cold air coming in and behind there. You still got some moisture. So, for us here in Tennessee and Kentucky, we're going to see a few snow showers popping up. But then look at that. You really start to see that low taking shape off the coast of North Carolina. And that's when it will start to do that so-called bombogenesis is what we call it. And this will be happening overnight into tomorrow. And that's when you see those really, really heavy snow bands setting up. So anywhere from the mid-Atlantic, looking at 6 to 12 inches, and then coastal New England, a foot or more of snow. Some people are going to measure 2 feet or more, including coastal Massachusetts, coastal Maine. These areas are going to see just a ton of snow. So this is possibly one for the record books. We'll see how it goes. Thank you for joining me. And I know that this is my first time doing this type of forecasting, so thanks for bearing with me. I promise you it'll start looking better and I'll get a little bit more familiar with it. But thank you for joining my first one. I appreciate you guys. And, feel free to subscribe if you want. If not, that's okay too. But I appreciate you. And just stay well and stay safe, my friends.